Today is 31st of July 2025. Yesterday I began to talk about the second causative factor to sharpen the controlling faculties, and that is practicing practicing respectfully, practicing in reverential manner, and under this topic I mentioned that there are 4 points mentioned or stated on text. Among those 4, yesterday I talked a bit about the first point, that is to act as if blind, though one can see. That was the first one. So yogis have to behave like blind, although they can see. That is to restrain the eyes, not to look here and there. When you look here and there, you admit impurities. You easily admit impurities. When you see pleasing object, greed tends to arise. When you see unpleasing objects, anger tends to arise. If not greed and anger, at least wrong view or illusion tends to arise. You will see the object as man, woman, because there is no existence of man or woman. There is only physicality and mentality. So at least wrong view, at least wrong view or illusion tends to arise, if not greed or anger. That means we easily admit unwholesomeness, or we easily admit defilements when we look here and there. Yes, if not mindfully. So that is why we have to restrain our eyes. And it is also because we want to be at present moment. We want to observe the meditative object. If it is walking meditation, we want to observe the movements of foot. If it is day-to-day activities, we want to observe day-to-day activities. While we keep looking here and there, it is not that easy to be at present moment. Hence, yogis we have to restrain our eyes. And yesterday, I did mention there are the moments when we have to look. At that moment, we look mindfully, noting, looking, seeing. Looking, we look intentionally, so looking. When we see something, we note seeing. So looking, seeing. We look mindfully. Again to prevent the impurities or unwholesomenesses. If you practice in this way, you practice respectfully. And if you practice respectfully, then that is the cause to sharpen your controlling faculties. Means to develop mindfulness, to cultivate your mindfulness, to sharpen your mindfulness. If it is about to develop concentration, and that would be the cause to develop concentration or to sustain concentration. If it is about to develop wisdom, that would be the cause to develop wisdom and to sustain the wisdom. So this is the first point. The second is to act as if deaf, though one can hear. So again, a deaf has no interest on audible object. He or she has no interest at all on audible object, and to him, based on the audible object, defilements do not arise. Defilements do not arise. Similarly, yogis, meditators have to behave like deaf by not showing interest, on audible objects, especially not pricking up your ears, pricking up your ears, not involving, not engaging on the audible objects. Again, when you hear pleasant sound, greed tends to arise. And when you hear unpleasant sound, anger or aversion tend to arise. If not greed or anger, at least the wrong view or illusion tend to arise. That is why, in order to prevent that defilements, you have to behave like deaf. Yogis should not take interest on audible objects. By any chance, when you have to listen, or you have to listen, at that time, again, you have to note as hearing, listening or hearing. Mostly, of course, hearing. If you deliberately listen, then listening. If you hear something, then hearing. With mindfully, we have to listen the object. If we do so, then again practicing respectfully. This is the second point. The third point is to act as if ignoring, though one has knowledge. That is the third point. That means, though you have so many knowledges, though you have so many experiences about the practice, you have to behave like ignorant, like you know nothing. Because if you think you have so many knowledges, you have so many experiences about the practice, conceit or proud likely to arise. Proud conceit likely to arise, and with that proud, with that conceit, if you practice, then it's really hard to improve, because you think, you believe, you know very much about the practice, you know very much about the Dhamma, you have practiced a lot, so conceit arises. And not only that, when you have conceit, proud, you don't think you need to listen to your teacher. You don't think you need guidance from teacher. You don't think you need instruction of teachers, because you believe you know better. You think you believe that you know lots of things. At times you may overtake the teacher. So with conceit, with proud, you can't improve in your practice. So though you have so many experiences, no matter how long it has been, no matter how many times you have practiced, no matter how many retreats you have joined, you have to behave like you know nothing, you have no experiences. And again, when you think you have many knowledges, many experiences, you keep thinking, you keep comparing, you keep analyzing, you keep judging. Like if you think you have so many knowledges about the Dhamma, you have read many books, then your mind tends to analyze what is mentioned in the book and what you experience right now. You may compare, you may analyze, oh, text mentioned like this, whether this is the thing or this is the experience, what mentioned in the text. So you may keep comparing, you may keep analyzing, you may keep thinking, and not analyzing your experience alone, but you may analyze other yogis. Oh, that yogi is not doing well, that is not what text mentioned, that is not what instructed, or he or she is not practicing correctly. So yogi tends to analyze, keep analyzing other yogis, judging other yogis. That means he or she is not practicing at that moment. He or she is not looking, watching, observing his or her own physicality and mentality. The practice of vipassana is observing one's own physicality and mentality. The internal object, not external. So with that proud or conceit, yogi will not improve, meditator will not improve. That's why, although you have so many experiences, you have so many knowledges about the Dhamma, You have to behave like ignorant, like you know nothing. That's why always we say to yogis whenever they come to join the retreat, behave like a new yogi, like who knows nothing, who knows nothing. A beginner yogi knows nothing. He has no experiences. Hence, he or she just listen to teacher. Whatever teacher asks him or her to do, he or she follows. He or she listen and apply into the practice. Neither he or she keeps thinking what teacher said, nor he or she keeps analyzing. He or she does not do that, but just applies into the practice. So that is what all the meditators should do, and that means behaving like ignorant, and that is also the cause or cause to improve, to progress in meditation. If you have proud, if you have conceit, then that will be hindrance. That will halt in your practice. You can't move forward. You remain stuck. You remain stuck because of that proud and conceit. So again, with this third point, we can add another one, that is to act as if mute, though one can speak. So that means although yogis are capable to speak, to talk, have to behave like mute. That means to keep noble silence. To keep noble silence, as you know, when you join intensive retreat, you have to keep noble silence. Not just silence, but noble silence. Why the word noble is added? In Pali, it is noble means ariya. Ariya means pure, and the second meaning is excellent. Pure and excellent. It is not just silence, but noble silence, because at home also, when you have argument or conflict or with your family members or with your friends, at times you keep silence. So that is not the noble silence, that is just the silence. Maybe here also at times you might be sitting in this meditation hall with eyes closed, but you might be thinking this and that, planning this and that, daydreaming. Then again, that is just the silence. That is not the noble silence. To be called noble silence, your mind must be pure. So that is the meaning of ariya, noble. Purity is needed. Purity is needed. And when your mind is pure, then said to be excellent. Or if your mind is impure, then your level is degraded. Your level is not high, it's low, it's degraded. So can't be said as noble. That is why noble is added. In Pali, it is Ariya. Silence means tunhi bhava, Ariya tunhi bhava. So noble silence is needed. And two, to keep noble silence, yogis must be observing the presently arising object. When you keep observing presently arising object, at that time your mind is pure, my mind is clean, so it can be called as noble silence at that time. So this is how we keep noble silence, not just silence, but noble silence. So this is under the third point. The fourth point is to act as if weak though one is strong. Means although yogis have lots of strength to do quickly, fastly, have to behave like weak person, doing all the activities slowly, not just slowly, but mindfully. Doing slowly alone is not enough, need to do mindfully. So that is why from the very first day, yogis are instructed to do slowly. Because doing slowly, behaving like a weak person is the quality or the feature or the causative factor in order to improve in meditation. In order to improve in meditation. That's why yogis are instructed. So these are the 4 points. In order to practice respectfully, yogis have to restrain their eyes, yogis have to restrain their ears, yogis have to behave like ignorant and mute, and yogis have to behave like weak person. So whatever you do, from the early morning until go to the bed, have to do slowly, gently, not just slowly. Your performances should be gentle also. Because if it is gentle, it is easy to observe. If it is rough, then hard to observe. Even when you make your footstep, if your footstep is quite rough, then hard to observe. Again, why you need to do slowly? Because physicalities, mentalities, they arise and pass away swiftly in super fast manner. If you do slowly, you can't see the rapid appearance and disappearance of physicalities. Right now, we are trying to sharpen our controlling faculties. Minimum, we are trying to get the stage in which we can see the rapid dissolving of physicalities and mentalities. And to see rapid dissolving of physicalities and mentalities, have to do slowly. If you don't do slowly, you can't get that stage. The slower you move, the faster you progress. This is the principle of this Vipassana meditation. The slower you move, the faster you progress. And that is why yogis have to do everything slowly and mindfully. From major activities to minor activities. At the beginning, yes, it's really hard to do slowly, but practice makes perfect. Later, yogis become capable to do slowly, mindfully, gradually, even the minor activities. Even the blinking of the eyes, you will be able to do slowly. Even the moving eyeballs from right to left, left to right, up to down, down to up, you will be able to move slowly. Even the slight movements of the fingers, slight movements of the head, whatever you do, you will be able to do slowly and mindfully. So, from major activities to minor activities. But yes, there are the moments when you can't do too slowly. It might be because you have to be on time in meditation hall, or maybe fellow yogis are waiting behind you. Maybe like in buffet, if behind you yogis are waiting, then you can't do too slowly. After taking food, yes, you can walk slowly to your table. Like when you take bath, you may not have enough time, so yes, you can't do slowly, but not too fast. At least in normal speed so that you can observe in general. Not in detail, but at least you can observe in general. So have to maintain the speed. But when you don't need to care about the time, then at that time you have to do slowly, gradually, and mindfully. And that is the way of practicing respectfully. That is the uh, way of practice to improve our mindfulness, our concentration, and wisdom. This is how you develop mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So these 4 points are mentioned under the second cause, that is practicing respectfully. Yogis have to restrain their eyes, yogis have to restrain their ears, yogis have to behave like ignorant and mute, and yogis have to do slowly, gradually, or behave like weak. If yogis keep following these 4 points, 4 aspects, then that means yogis are practicing respectfully in reverential manner. If yogis are not following these 4 aspects, then yogis are not practicing respectfully. Or if any of these yogis are not following, then not practicing respectfully. Any of these 4. If yogis are not following, then not practicing respectfully. So this is about the 4 points. So addition to these 4, there are few things still we can add, like working hard when you feel like it, and not working hard when you don't. That is also doing hard working when you feel like it, not hard working when you don't. That is also not the respectful practice. You have to always you have to keep doing hard work. Always you have to keep doing the hard work. Not only sometimes, but always, from the early morning until you go to the bed. Again, you should not discriminate the object. At times we discriminate. For example, maybe you try your best to observe the primary object. But when you observe secondary, you are not much curious. You are not much attentive. You pay less attention. You observe superficially, casually. Then again, you are not practicing respectfully. You work hard in sitting meditation, but you don't in walking. Then again, you are not practicing respectfully. You practice diligently in sitting, walking, but not in day-to-day activities. Again, you are not practicing respectfully. Whether sitting, whether walking, whether day-to-day activities, you have to be very diligent. You have to be hardworking. Then it is said to be practicing respectfully. So these are the things you have to be careful while practicing meditation. And if you follow these aspects, then you will see the result. You will see the result. When you control your eyes, it's easy to be at present moment, to observe your physical activities. It is easy to observe your mind. When you control your ear, when you control your attitude, and when you behave like weak, then it's really easy to be mindful. Otherwise, it's hard to improve in practice. So regarding this practicing respectfully, there is a discourse mentioned in the text. That is, the name of the discourse is Janapada Kalyani Sutta. Janapada Kalyani Sutta, discourse on Janapada Kalyani. Buddha delivered this discourse to those monks who were not practicing respectfully. Like let's say, those who were not following these 4 points, who were not practicing respectfully. So in this sutta, in this discourse, Buddha said to monks, suppose on hearing a great number of people assembled, hearing the most beautiful girl on the land, the most beautiful girl on the land, a great number of people assembled, and that the most beautiful girl of the land starts to sing and dance gracefully. Then again, even more numbers of the people gathers on hearing, oh, the most beautiful girl on the land is dancing and singing. At the same time, a man come along who wants to live, does not want to die, who wants happiness, and who dislikes suffering. So 4 things mentioned about him. He likes happiness, he dislikes suffering, he wants to live, he does not want to die. So a man come along, and and people would say to him, people would say to him, okay, man, you have to carry on your head a bowl filled with oil to the brim, and a man with drawn sword will follow right behind you. You have to walk between the crowd and that the most beautiful girl on the land. And if you split even a drop of oil, then right there, that man will chop off your head. Then Buddha asks to the monks, okay, monks, what do you think? Will that man will take away his awareness from that bowl that he is carrying on his head, or out of negligence will he pay attention to the crowd or to that the most beautiful girl on the land? Monk said, no, venerable sir. And of course, that man will not dare to do that, because as soon as he take away his attention from that bowl, or out of negligence, when he looks to crowd or the most beautiful girl on the land, then he might split the oil from that bowl. So Buddha said, similarly, you monks have to be very careful about your object arising at the present moment. You should not be negligent. You should not keep looking here and there. You should not keep listening this and that. You should walk slowly, like that man. That man who is walking in between the crowd and that most beautiful girl on the land, he definitely walks slowly. He has to walk slowly, because if he walks fastly, quickly, then will split the oil. So in this sutta, Buddha showed how much care and respect is needed while practicing meditation. So that much care is needed, that much respect is needed. With utmost care and respect, yogis have to practice. So if you practice in that way, then that you are fulfilling the second causative factor, that is practicing respectfully. And that will be the cause to develop the mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, of course, including faith and confidence, including energy. So this is the second cause, our second causative factor to sharpen the controlling faculties. Now we move to the third one. When you practice respectfully, when you practice with utmost care and respect, have to practice continuously. You don't practice respectfully like sometimes. You have to practice always, continuously. This morning also I said few yogis because we found some yogis, they at times do really hard working, very mindful, but at times they are not much mindful. They are like casual. So we remind them. So this is because like consistency is needed. Consistently, you have to practice respectfully, not sometimes. In another word, it is mentioned, the Pali is the Satacha Kiriyaya Sampadeti, means yogis have to practice uh, without gap, without interval. Unbroken mindfulness is needed. There should not be gap, there should not be interval, there should not be break in between two mindfulness, in between two concentration, in between two energy, in between two wisdom, or in between two faith and confidence. So they must be connected to each other. The previous one must be connected to the succeeding one. Previous mindfulness must be connected to succeeding mindfulness. Previous energy must be connected to succeeding energy, effort. Previous concentration must be connected with succeeding concentration. Previous wisdom must be connected to succeeding wisdom. Then they become stronger. Then they become amazingly stronger. So the third, the causative factor to develop, to sustain, to sharpen the controlling faculties is practicing continuously with unbroken mindfulness, without gap, without interval. We often say that your sitting must be connected to walking. Walking must be connected to the sitting. Means whatever you do in between sitting and walking should do mindfully. Should do mindfully. Like after sitting, what you do? First, you open your eyes. So you have to open mindfully. You may not wanting to open once, twice, or thrice. Note carefully, then open your eyes. When you open, note as opening. Do slowly, mindfully. Then after opening your eyes, what do you do? Right, when you open your eyes, you may see or you may be looking something. If you do so, then you may note as looking, seeing for a while. Then after, what do you do? You may shift, you may move your hands, you may move your legs. If you can, you may note as wanting to move, wanting to shift, note intention. Then move one by one. Try not to move two hands at the same time. Try not to move two legs at the same time. First right hand, maybe first right hand, then left hand. While moving right hand, pay attention to right hand. While moving left hand, pay attention to left hand. Note as moving, or shifting. Then after, if you move your legs, do same thing. Observe it, do slowly. That is for the second causative factor, behaving like a weak and doing slowly. Then observe it, move slowly. Then after what you do, if you bow down, then if you want to note intention to bow down, you may note, or if you just bow down, still okay. But pay attention to that action. You should not miss the action. Right now, you should not miss those actions. If you bow down, pay attention. When you lower down your head, when you sit back, so observe those activities, observe those performances. Now, if you are about to stand up, not wanting to stand up, then stand up slowly, gradually. Then when you keep standing, then note as standing, standing. If you want to turn around, then turning around. Maybe if you adjust your clothes, then you may note adjusting. Now, when you are about to make a first step, you may not wanting to walk or wanting to make step. Then you begin to make your step. So that is, you have to count as the beginning of walking meditation. At times, yogis do not count that as walking meditation. At times, yogis count walking meditation only when they get to the place where they have chosen to do walking meditation. Then only they think there is what they do walking meditation. In fact, each step counts as walking meditation. So your walking meditation begins from that very first step. So in this way, if you pay attention all those activities, if you observe those all activities, that means your sitting is connected to walking. If you don't observe those activities, then your sitting and walking is not connected. You are not opening eyes mindfully, you are not moving your hands, legs mindfully. When you stand up, you are not mindful. When you turn around, when you adjust your clothes, many activities you do in between sitting and walking. If you are not mindful of those activities, you are missing a lot. And there is huge gap. There is huge gap, huge interval. That is why at times it's hard to improve in meditation. You may think you are really doing good in sitting. You may think you are working hard in sitting. You are working hard in walking. But if you keep missing these activities, then sitting and walking are not connected. Then that may be the reason you are not progressing as expected. So have to be connected as sitting and walking. And after walking meditation, when you walk to your sitting place, again, each step counts as walking meditation. When you get to your place, stand up for a while, notice standing, standing. If you want to sit down, note as wanting to sit. When you sit, sit gradually, slowly, note as sitting. After sitting, what do you do? If you bow down, then again, note. Now in reverse. You have to do in reverse. After sitting, whatever you do until you walk, now when you go to your sitting place, now the mostly it is on reverse. So observe all these activities until you close your eyes and you observe the rising and falling. Intention to close your eyes. Then when you close your eyes, close slowly. And as soon as you close your eyes, you observe your main object instantly. If so, then your walking is well connected to the sitting meditation. So it is not, in fact, the connection between the walking and sitting. It is about the connection between the mindfulness you develop in sitting to the mindfulness you develop in walking. It is the connection between the energy that you develop in sitting to the energy that you develop in walking. It is the connection between the concentration that you develop to the concentration that you develop in walking. It is the connection between the wisdom that you develop in sitting to the wisdom to walking. And yes, faith and confidence as well. So then these 5 controlling faculties become sharp or strong if they are connected to each other. This is how the Thor, the causative factor, explains about the unbroken mindfulness, about the unbroken concentration, about the unbroken energy, wisdom, and faith and confidence. We will talk more about this unbroken mindfulness, unbroken concentration, unbroken energy tomorrow practically. So for today, may all yogis be able to practice respectfully, and may all yogis be able to practice with unbroken mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, because these 2 are the main causative factors. In this 2-week retreat, I'm of course going to talk about the 9 causative factors, but the second and third are the main, the major causative factors in order to sharpen the controlling faculties or in order to improve in meditation. So may you all be able to practice respectfully and with unbroken mindfulness, concentration, and may you be able to sharpen your controlling faculties.